What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this hopefully very quick review of Married at First Sight Australia Season 9, Episode 4. Episode 5 comes on tonight in probably like an hour or two. So I'm super late with my review. I need to get on a schedule. I need to work something out so that I don't have to do these reviews the day or the day before the new episode airs. So, starting off with Tamara and Brent, they are definitely improving. Things are looking much better for them. I don't know if it was consciously or subconsciously, they've both decided to kind of go at a very slow pace. They're not going to really rush into anything, and things are really looking up for them, and I'm really happy about that. On their wedding day, it was a complete mess. They were both very, very uptight. You could tell they were both very uncomfortable and awkward. She was super critical of every little thing he did and said. So now on the honeymoon, they are both so much more chill, especially her. She has really come down like about 100 notches. She's very relaxed. She's very serene. She's a lot softer. She's not as critical. So I am loving this new Tamara. If this is the real Tamara, I'm going to really enjoy watching this couple grow. So they are a lot more comfortable with each other. They're laughing, they're joking around, they're playing around. And it's just really nice to see how much they've improved since their wedding day. And I guess also the stress of the wedding and getting married to a stranger, all of that has dissipated, especially since when you are, very attracted to the person that they matched you with, it does take off a lot of the stress. We also learned that Brent has a foot phobia, and it was really funny because in bed, Tamara was trying to put her feet all up in his face, and he was like really freaking out. He almost had a heart attack. So then they bring out the honeymoon box, which has the cards of questions, and the first question they ask each other is, What was your first impression of me?" And they both said that they found each other very attractive. Tamara did say that she thought that Brent was going to be very immature. She thought that he was a whole lot younger than he actually was, I guess, but she was attracted to him. And then the other question, which was like a free question, he could ask her anything he wanted. He asked her for a kiss, and she hesitated for a while. She looked like a deer caught in headlights when he asked her that, but she finally went ahead and relented. And so when they leaned into each other to kiss, she started giggling. She couldn't help herself. And so it was kind of awkward, but also kind of cute and funny. All in all, I'm liking watching Brett and Tamara, and so far, so good. Moving on to Holly and Andrew. So this is where it gets a little bit dark. So Holly and Andrew, they I felt like in the previous episode when they were having dinner or lunch, and he started talking about his daughter and saying how he was really missing his daughter, and talking about how just basically trying to conjure up some type of an emotion so that he can start crying. I thought it was just all a ploy to get her in bed, because she fell for it hook, line, and sinker. She was comforting him, she was holding him, wiping his tears away. And I really, really thought, God strike me if I'm wrong, but I really truly thought that it was just all a ploy to get intimate with her. So that ended up happening. They ended up, consummating their marriage. And yeah, we'll get to all of that in a little bit. So when their segment begins, we find out that they consummated their marriage. Holly says that her feelings for him have escalated and that she believes that the universe has brought Andrew to her life. And then it's time for first of all, before I move on, I wonder why she feels like that. She didn't really go into a lot of details. I don't think she did, but I wonder why she felt like, this is y'all just met, and yes, there's an attraction there between the two of you, but what else, Holly, makes you feel like the universe brought this man to you and that this is your person? You haven't really gone through anything. You haven't experienced anything. He hasn't proven himself to you in any kind of way. There's just a guy that showed up in a suit and you said I do to him, but you feel like this is the guy that, God wants you to be with. So they get the honesty box, and yeah, I think it's called the honesty box. or is it the honeymoon box? Well, I think it's the honesty box. They get the honesty box during dinner, and I think the question was, what was his first impression of her? And he said that he thought that she was very beautiful, and she does feel a definite chemistry with him. There is that chemistry there that's there between them. And then the question was, does he feel a sexual chemistry with her? And the answer was that, he did. Obviously, he did because, like I said, he used his tears to lure her into his trap. And so he says that when they were intimate, it really wasn't that great for him because he felt like she was not connecting with him. That basically, from what I understood, and I could be wrong, like she wasn't, like she was just, I guess, like an inanimate object. She really wasn't, he didn't feel any connection with her. No, he said that she wasn't present. That's what he said. He said that he didn't feel like she was actually present in the moment with him, that they were not really connecting on a deeper level. And he says that he's had one night stands that connected with him better, and that it was not enjoyable for him. And this hurt her feelings because she felt the opposite. For her, she thought it was a great experience. She felt like that they did connect. She thought that, she was doing all the proper things. So she had a completely different experience. And that must be really painful, to have your partner tell you, you know what, it wasn't good for me because you weren't connecting with me. I felt like you really weren't present. And for you, it was like the complete opposite. So that definitely, it did hurt her. I question whether or not he should have told her that, or if he should have just kept it to himself and just kind of hoped that things would improve and work on improving things. So on the one hand, it's good to communicate with your partner and to tell them, what bothers you, what you're struggling with. But on the other hand, you don't want to hurt their feelings. But if you don't say anything, then the problem might not ever get solved and things might not improve. So with this specific situation, not in general, but with this specific situation, I feel like he should have kept it to himself because they just met. They're strangers. The whole thing is so awkward. The whole thing is just bizarre. You're on a television show. You show up at the altar. Whoever shows up there next to you, you're going to marry them. And y'all don't really know much about each other. And things are kind of moving at a really fast pace. So I think that he should have just chalked it up to not knowing each other. And he should have just felt like, you know what, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to kind of see if things improve. Because there's a way that he could have there's things that he could have done to try to fix the problem without telling her that he didn't enjoy it and it wasn't, a good experience for him. I thought that what he said to her, it was very direct, which, anybody can appreciate someone who can speak their mind and be very clear and concise with what they're saying. But I think that he should have gone about it a little bit softer, a little bit more delicate. But he was just like very, very blunt. I didn't feel like you were present and I didn't enjoy it. And I was just like, wow. It was a bit much. And I think he put it on way too strong for someone that he just met, especially like how many women would even be willing to consummate their marriage on their very first night with a stranger. The fact that she was feeling something for him that would even, make her feel comfortable to sleep with him, that should have come into play. He should have taken that into consideration instead of just focusing on the things that were wrong. He should have also kind of looked at the things that kind of went right to get them to that moment. So, it goes without saying that she did feel very hurt by what he said. And she says that if he's, now that I guess she feels judged, and she should because he was judging her. Now that she feels judged and criticized, it's going to make her kind of distance herself from him, and as she should. And she said that she feels like she was betrayed. She feels like her trust was broken with him. And so there's no way that she's gonna go down that road again, not for a while. And then she said that, he needs to take into consideration that there was no way that we were going to have this deep, soulful connection the first night because we're strangers to each other. We don't know each other. So, Yeah, and I agreed with her 100% that, yeah, he should have taken into consideration that, whatever you were looking for and you didn't find it, probably because I don't know each other. So, the next day or the next morning, I guess there were, it was kind of, they were like, kind of staying out of each other's way. But he had to bite the bullet and he had to sit down. He had to talk to her, which he did. And he said, he talked a good game. I don't know if he actually said he was sorry, but he was expressing sorrow. He was expressing, like, he was trying to be apologetic. And you know, I forgot what he said. I didn't write down exactly what he said, but he did talk to her and he did talk about how he didn't mean to hurt her. That was not his intentions, to hurt her. And I don't know if he said that he regretted saying what he said. I don't know if he apologized, but they did have a conversation about it. And she was receiving the conversation, receiving what he was saying. She didn't run away or blow him off. So she took in everything he said. And she did tell him that it is going to take time for me to rebuild my trust in you. And he was like, rightfully so. He agreed with her. Andrew, you messed up. You messed up big time. That was all wrong. What you said to her was just completely all wrong. You should have really kept it to yourself and just kind of, given it time to see if things were going to improve. Moving on to Celine and Anthony. So since the wedding, things have really fizzled out, which, to me is kind of crazy because I thought that they were off to a great start. It seems like there was an instant attraction there. They were both parents, so they had that in common. So I'm like very confused on what went wrong. So, and also, side note, sometimes, or really all the time, when I watch these type of shows like Married at First Sight, and I look at these individuals, especially the one. Anyways, well, what I wanted to say was sometimes I kind of understand why certain people, their previous marriages didn't work out or why they haven't gotten married yet, because some of these people are like very, very complex. So that leads me to Celine and Anthony. So Anthony is trying to get closer to her. He's trying to be romantic with her. And it seems like she's just not receiving it for some reason. Things have really, took a downward turn since their wedding. And they're really struggling with each other. They're struggling to find a connection. So they go do an activity of they go do some pottery where you make the stuff out of clay. And so while they're doing the pottery, it starts off okay. And then he was trying to get really playful with her. So I don't know who started it. I don't know if she started it by putting, her dirty hands on his arm or if he started it. I don't know, but they were getting playful. So they were like wiping the clay on each other. And then when she wiped the clay on his face. I think at first he put it on, I don't know what part of her body, but it wasn't her face. Then she wiped the clay on his face. And then he retaliated and also wiped the clay on her face. But then when he did it to her, all of a sudden the mood completely shifted. She was no longer in a playful mood. She got very, very serious, and the day was over basically. So they get in the car, and he's not talking, and so she's kind of like poking him like, hey, what's wrong with you over there? How come you're not saying anything? And then he was like, he just wanted to be left alone. He was like, just kind of leave me alone or whatever. And then she was like, I don't know why you're upset. I'm the one that got clay on my face. And he was just like, but we were just horsing around. We were just fooling around. Like, what's wrong with you? And so she's like, so I'm not supposed to say anything when you put clay on my face? I'm just supposed to act like a brick wall and not react? And he's just like, okay, you know what? Yeah, I'm not going to talk anymore. So she was just trying to goad him into an argument, because I thought that when she was like trying to get him to talk, she just either wanted to talk about what happened and, be done with it, or just try to move on and let's talk about something else, like trying to reconnect with him again after that awkwardness of not talking in the car. But no, she wanted to argue with him. So he doesn't want to argue. So when they get to their Airbnb, he gets out of the car. He doesn't even wait for her. He doesn't open the door for her. And remember, he was the one that was really trying to be very chivalrous, like, carrying bags for her, drawing the bath for her. But after that clay incident, when she started, when she completely had a tantrum because she got clay on her face, he was done with being, with the chivalry. So they get to the Airbnb. He got out of that car and walked to the house so fast. I didn't know what was happening. It was like 1 minute he was there, the next minute he was gone. He was gone. And she actually made a comment about that, how he left her in the car. Like, what do you want him to do? Anyways, so it gets evidently that night they had an argument which was not on camera, but the next morning they refer to the fight that they had the night before, and they decide to have a conversation about it. So Anthony says that the more time we spend together, oh no, we're not there yet. They had the night under the stars. I forgot about that. So they have like a night under the stars. They didn't have the fight yet. So after the pottery, they go back home, and then I think later on that night they had like a night under the stars thing in a tent. So they are in the tent, and with the marshmallows and all of that. And I think he says, the more time that we spend together, the more I'm getting comfortable with you. And then she says, it's the complete opposite for me. She says she's not feeling a spark. She doesn't feel like, he's the kind of guy that she feels, like he can protect her. She doesn't feel protected by him. And she feels like that he's very needy. And I'm like, how did you come up with, there must be a lot going on when the cameras are off, because I don't see him as someone who is very needy. He was the one that was running around doing things for her. So he's like, I don't understand. He's like, I try to connect with her. When I'm trying to be vulnerable with her, it's too much for her. She can't handle it. And he says that he feels very belittled by her. So I'm just like, wow. I don't know what she was expecting. I don't really see him. But then again, I'm not, we're not with him all the time like the way she is. But from what I've seen on camera, he doesn't seem like someone who's extremely needy. It's like he allows her to have her space. He does things for her. I don't really understand what she's talking about. I'm not denying what she's saying. She probably is experiencing these things, but I just don't see it. So that was the night after they had, the night under the stars. That was the night that they had a fight, but it wasn't on camera. So they had a fight that night, and then they try to talk about it the next day. And as they're trying to discuss it, the conversation completely falls apart. Like, they were not seeing eye to eye at all. I have to admit, I was kind of like falling asleep during that conversation, so I don't really know what they talked about, but they did try to talk about the fight from the night before, but it didn't work out because when I woke up, he was walking away. Moving on to Selena and Cody. So Selena is still dealing with Cody's lack of attraction for her, because when he told her that he really didn't feel like, physical attraction to her, it did something to her. It made her feel some kind of way. So she says it was like a slap in the face. And she's like, I can't believe it. I got friend zoned, by my own husband. So they're in the kitchen and they're trying to make breakfast, and it's extremely awkward. And, I get, but it doesn't even matter. It does not even matter if she is not his type physically. According to these experts, there's something about this couple that should be a good match. And he needs to look beyond the physicality and get to know her as a person. And as he gets to know her as a person, and if she really steps up to the plate, then the attraction hopefully will begin. But, it's not a deal breaker if he doesn't feel attracted to her, if he doesn't have, whatever, the butterflies in his stomach whenever he looks at her. It's perfectly okay. The marriage can still work out. It can still be a successful marriage. So later on, I guess they're trying to connect because he gives her a massage. And I don't know if he was giving her a massage or if he thought he was kneading bread, because he was digging like deep into her flesh. I mean, I felt the pain for her. He was really rough with that massage. And she even had to tell him to be a little bit more gentle. And after the massage, she tells in her confessional, she's like, yeah, we tried. It really wasn't romantic, but, we did what we could. Moving on to Ella and Mitch. So the attraction is still there for them, but she's still adhering to her 3-day rule. Well, I guess the 3 days are up. I don't know. I lost track of time with them. I have no idea if the 3 days were up or if she broke her rule early. Whatever the situation is, they consummated their marriage. And it was fireworks and explosions everywhere. It was really, really nice for both of them. They were both extremely satisfied. Both of them were very, very happy. So that's good because it was such a huge build up to this. It would have been crazy if one of them or both of them were disappointed. So like I said, they were both satisfied. Everything went well in that department. And this is what I thought was kind of sweet. Mitch is a really good looking guy, right? In your general average standards, the average person, if you were to take a poll of a whole bunch of people, I think the average consensus would be that Mitch is a very good looking guy. And it's nice when you have someone who's nice looking, but they also have a little bit of depth to them. I don't know if this is deep or not, but I was impressed when he said this. When he said, she's not just my partner and my wife, she's becoming my best friend. And I thought that was really, really, really sweet. Moving on to Domenica and Jack. So they're out and about on their honeymoon, and I don't know if they're on a farm or what, but there's alpacas, they are sheep and goats and stuff. So they noticed that one particular sheep was like laying on her side, like she was in some kind of distress or something. Well, coming to find out, she was having a baby. So they actually witnessed this sheep giving birth to her lamb. I think it's called a lamb, a baby sheep. And so that was like very momentous for them. I thought that was miraculous to be able to witness that, just kind of like, off the cuff. So in their honesty box or honeymoon box, they do that when they go back inside the house after dinner. And the question was, there's definitely the attraction. What did you think when you saw me? Blah, blah, blah. They both were very attracted to each other. So the chemistry is obviously there. And then the question was, what is your biggest insecurity? Her biggest insecurity was the fear of failure and that no one would want her because she's divorced. I don't understand the stigma about this divorce. Maybe because in the United States, we don't have that divorce stigma. We don't look at a divorced woman, and I don't think men are like, oh, I'll never marry her because she's divorced. But for whatever reason, she really is like very sensitive about the fact that she's divorced. And so Jack says his biggest fear is someone who gives up and just runs away. And so she really internalized that. And she was like, okay, I knew this was going to happen. I knew this was bound to happen. So you think I'm going to run away? You think I'm that type of wife? And he was like, I wasn't really referring to you. I was just speaking in general terms. And then she was like, well, what a coincidence that I tell you that I had a 2-month marriage, and then you tell me your biggest fear is that someone just gives up and runs away. What a coincidence. And so he tries to calm her down, and he's like, you know what? Yeah, it can fit the situation, but I wasn't referring to that. And so he's like, are you going to run away when things get tough? And she's like, no. And he says, well, I'll take your word for it then. It's no big deal. I trust you that you're not going to run away when the going gets tough. So yeah, I'm cool. I'm fine. It's okay. And I think she did finally calm down a little bit. And yeah, she did calm down. She was okay after that. And so she did tell him that she was really happy about with the honeymoon box, because it makes them have the conversations that they need to have that they otherwise probably wouldn't have. So yeah, things are also going strong for them as well. There's a lot of couples. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 couples, and I think there's one more. We still have one more wedding, and I'm just like, wow, it's a lot of couples. I don't really want to compare Australia to the American version, but I can't help but do that, because the American version right now, we have 4 couples. We started off with 5, now we have 4. This is 6 couples, and we still have a 7th. This is insane, but I'm enjoying it so far. I really do like it. If you made it this far in my review, I really do appreciate it. On your way out, please don't forget to rate the video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I will definitely talk to you later. Bye.